everyone! So welcome back to another episode of the new launch project analysis. So today we'll be analysing Tengah Garden Residences, and this is part 2 of the series. If you have not seen part 1, where I went through more about Tengah as a whole and also about the ECs there and how the ECs affect the pricing of Tengah Garden Residences, do check that out. So today what we'll be doing is we'll be going through quick facts of the project, the location, the site plan, floor plan, and then we'll be deep diving into the price analysis where we'll be looking at whether pricing actually makes sense or not. And we will be ranking the development for investors versus those of you who wants to buy for own stay. And last but not least, 3 reasons why I will buy this project and 3 reasons why I wouldn't buy this project. And before we dive into that, remember to like, share and subscribe. So when you tell someone about Tengah, the response is always so ulu, nothing there, it's just forest only ma, and like so far away in the west, right? So I went down to Tengah and see for myself, and then I was like, hey wait, there seems like it's not so simple here. This could very well be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. This is like a new Punggol but with MRT. Okay, so in this video, right, what I'm going to do is to break down to see whether this project makes sense and importantly, is Tengah too ulu to be good? Okay, now Tengah Garden Residences quick facts. So this project is in District 24, location is Tengah Garden Avenue. So this zoning is residential with commercial on first story. So around the perimeters of the condo, right, you will actually have retail shops, okay? Developer, you have Hong Leong Group, CSC Land Group and GuocoLand. So a little bit on the developers. Commonwealth Tower, One North Eden, this was developed by Hong Leong, and then GuocoLand, we all know the very famous Midtown Modern, Mansion. Then for CSC Land, we have Verdale, Twinville. So all 3 are renowned developers. Okay. Then tenure-wise, this is 99-year leasehold from 2025 last year. We have 863 units of residential units, and expected TOP is around September 2029. For car park lots-wise, we have 518 lots, which is about 60% of the total number of units. So do note that Tengah is a car-lite area, just like the new Bayshore area that's coming up. So developments, all the car-lite areas, right, where it's going through transformation. Take note that going forward, this about 50 to 60% of car park lots will become like a norm. So for location-wise, we'll be looking at the master plan. So Tengah used to be all forest, okay, and it has been cleared, and there are actually a lot of HDBs there already, and also like Plantation Plaza, all these malls have already opened. So where the drop pin is, right, this is where the Tengah Garden Residences site will be. So you can see that on the master plan, there is man-made pond, okay. So this is the upcoming Tengah pond, which means that the development will actually have units that are facing the pond, okay. So right beside this development is actually the Hong Kah MRT station, which is actually just 1 minute away because there will be a bridge that links you to Hong Kah MRT station. So along Tengah Garden, right, which is where the entrance of the development is, okay, it's also sharing the same road as the hospital, which is the Tengah Community Hospital. It's a little bit like Woodlands Health Community Hospital, okay. So there will be some of the blocks and some of the units that are facing the hospital side, and that is likely to be ones with the cheapest PSF. So the next plot of education that is nearest to us, right, is actually the Kranji Primary School, okay. Further down there is a Pioneer Primary School as well. Then there are 2 more plots of education here, and there's a small little plot here. So all of these are not slated yet. So we have an existing EC here, which is Copen Grand, that has already TOP last year. Further up the map, you see these blue color sites, okay. This is actually slated for the integrated development, and is very likely to be the next plot that is after Tengah. So being integrated development, the difference between this and between Tengah Garden Residences, right, is that will be like seamless connectivity to the MRT or even a bus interchange. Then on the left hand side, you see this huge purple color plot here. This is actually the Jurong Innovation District, okay. So why is this important? Because this is basically an industrial hub for advanced manufacturing. So what are we expecting in this area? It will be like R&D labs, prototyping facilities, high-tech productions, that kind of stuff. It's slated to create about 95,000 jobs, okay, and positions will be like engineers, scientists, researchers. Then also in the Jurong West area, even like now, okay, we always have a lot of tenants from NTU, like the academics, the professors, okay. So this is important, especially if you are investors, because this is where your tenant pool will be coming from. Before we move on to the site plan, let's take a look at some of the artist's impression. Okay, it's a very, very beautiful project. The first picture that we see here is basically the blocks, and then you see a pond at the side. The pond actually goes around the side of the project, okay? And then you will see a small little bridge that links you to the MRT. And below, you will see some shops here. So basically the perimeter of the developments, you will have about 50 to 60 shops. Then the next picture shows you the more of a pond view. And also just take note that the MRT track actually goes around. It doesn't just end at one corner, it goes around the development. And then after that, go on to the other perspective of the internal of the project. And also this is a rooftop garden overlooking the pond. There will also be function room on the highest floor of the block that will overlook the pond. Now let's zoom into the site plan. There are two entrances, okay, one for residents and then one for commercial. So they are actually side by side, okay. So there are 9 blocks of 16 story high, and it's made up of 1 bedroom to 4 bedroom premium type, okay. But take note that 1 bedroom there are only 6 units, okay. The good thing is they are all inside facing, and then they are all ground floor units. And then facilities wise, you have tennis court, which is great for people who play tennis. You have a main pool, okay. The pool is actually shaped a little bit like the pond outside. And then on the left hand side, you have the aqua fitness pool, okay. Then the right hand side, you have the children's pool and the children's playground. There is also a paddleboard and pickleball court as well. Then there is a bridge on level 2 that connects you directly to the MRT station. But level 1, there is also a side gate if you don't want to go on level 2. Then at the entrance there will also be another side gate that brings you to Tengah Garden Avenue, and that will be the road where opposite will be the hospital. So the top of the site plan, right, where block 11, 13, 15, 17, then all the units that are facing Tengah Garden Avenue, right, will actually be facing the hospitals. Some of these layouts are actually really very nice. So there is a give and take here. Okay, we will look into the floor plans in a while. And then along the side of the site plan, right, like block 11, 27, 25 and 23, okay, the sides of 11 and 27, you will actually see the pond. Block 25 and 23 and some of 21, you will see the full pond view, okay, especially for stack 51, 50, 45, 44, then 43, 42. The only thing is the ones that gets clear unblocked pond view are all the 4-bedders. Okay, so you do not have any smaller units that gives you unblocked pond view. Then block 21, 43 and 42, you do get the pond view, but you also get quite a bit of the MRT track. And take note that Hong Kah MRT, or rather this entire line, okay, is ground level, it's not underground. So you do have to factor that in when choosing your units. So this is the chart that shows the unit mix. The majority of the units are actually made up of 2 and 3 bedrooms, followed by the 4 bedrooms. And 1 bedroom, we only have 6 units. So instead of omitting 1 bedroom totally, which is basically the trend of a lot of new launches now, Tengah Garden Residences has 6 unique 1 bedroom. As mentioned, will all be on ground floor. Okay, that's 484 square feet. So basically looking at the unit mix, right, the entire development basically just screams convenient, convenient, convenience. Okay, I like that there's a connecting bridge to the MRT station, there's retail downstairs. Entire project is built with family in mind, and for younger generation, there's like the different sports facilities. You have 3 courts there. I think it's a very well-rounded condo, especially for family with young kids. So now we look into the floor plans. So disclaimer first, we don't have the exact size for each floor plan layout. So this is what we have now, but they are subject to changes. Let's go into 1 bedroom. So 1 bedroom, we only have 6 units. So diving into the 1 bedroom layout, as you come in, you have a galley kitchen, and then you have designated living dining space. The bathroom itself has 2 connecting doors to your bedroom and also to the living room. So this is the very standard harmonized layout now. And then for the stack wise, the most expensive stack will very likely be 39, which is facing the pool and is the furthest to the next block. So the 2 bed, 1 bath at 624 square feet, we have 8 stacks, and they are all the same layout, which is a really, really nice layout. As you come in, you have a tucked-in kitchen, and then the 1 bath, you have 2 doors again, and you have your designated living and dining space. So this is the one with the starting from price at 1.11 million, and do note that this is very likely the hospital facing. And most expensive stack for this layout, right, likely be 43, because you will be able to see the pond from there. Then 2 bedroom premium, which is basically 2 bed, 2 bath layout, which will likely be very, very popular. Okay, we have quite a number of stacks for this, and and they also share pretty much the same layout. So again, as you come in, you have a tuck-in kitchen. Apart from one bedroom, all of the rest of the layouts here, right, they all have tuck-in kitchen. Okay, that is a very, very plus point for this project. Then for the 2-bed, 2-bath, what I really like is that both of the rooms actually have connecting bathrooms. If you are an investor, this is very good because it's pretty much like a co-living concept, and you're actually renting out 2 master bedrooms instead of 1 master, 1 common. So both rooms, right, you can actually charge at the same price. And then we move on to the biggest 2-bedroom, which is the 2-bed premium plus study. The difference is that the study area is a designated area, and also it has an opening to the bathroom. So the bathroom is connecting the bedroom 2 and also the study. Again, as an investor, you can also rent out this study as a room if you partition it up. So for the 2-bed premium with study, stack 24 will likely be the cheapest because this one you will overlook the MRT station. Actually, if you are lower floor, you will actually look into the MRT station. So for the other layout, stack 55 and 56 will likely be the one that's cheaper after stack 24. Then followed by you have block 11, block 27, stack 52, 59, and then 4 and 5, where you will get glimpses of the pond at the side from your balcony. So now we move on to 3-bedroom compact. There are 3 different layouts starting from 795 square feet, okay, and the price is starting from 1.59 million. So we look at the first layout. As you come in, you have a kitchen on your right hand side. Okay, this layout is a little bit not traditional because your bedroom 3, right, is actually just below your kitchen. So some may like it or may not like it. And then do note that this kitchen, right, is not enclosable. It is tucked in, okay, but there's no door there. Then you have your living dining area, which is quite spacious. Then you have 2-bedroom and then 2 bathrooms. Then 3B layout is a little bit different. Okay, as you come in, your kitchen on your left side, this is more the traditional layout where all 3 bedrooms are at the same side. Then this kitchen is actually enclosable. If you see from the floor plan, there is a sliding door there. And this kitchen and the 2 bathrooms, right, they all have windows. Versus the 3A, the kitchen doesn't have window. And then we have our last and final layout for 3-bed compact. This layout wise, same thing, you have your kitchen and 2 bathrooms, both have the windows. The only difference between C and B is actually the longer corridor versus a shorter corridor at the entrance. Okay, but I don't think that will make too much of a difference. Moving on, we have the 3-bed plus store. There's only one layout for this, okay, and I think this is a super smart layout because 3-bed plus store, this layout is super functional. If you actually just need a storeroom or you need a helper's room, you're okay with your helper using your common bathroom, right? And also because in the resale market, a lot of people actually don't even use the yard bathroom because it's kind of small. So I think this is a super smart layout and very, very functional. So as you come in, you have your designated living dining space. This is really a very good space. It's at 6.45 meters by 2.8 meters. Okay, then you have an 8 square meter kitchen, 2 bathrooms, both of them have window. So the only difference is actually the 3 square meter store that you have. So the 3-bed premium plus yard, basically we have 7 layout, 11 stacks. Okay, so this is going to be like super popular. This is the full-fledged, you know, full family. You need 3 bedrooms, you need helper's room, and then you need the yard for your laundry. Then this will be the layout that will suit you. Okay, the notable differences, right, is basically the size of the master bedroom, also whether it has a walk-in wardrobe and whether the walk-in wardrobe area has a window. Okay, for example, like layout I, okay, and layout H, you have windows at the master walk-in wardrobe area. So just to take note, layout I is also the layout with the smallest living and dining area at 4.9 by 3 meters. And also the differences in the 3 plus yard, right, is actually the kitchen. So some of them have an L-shaped kitchen, and that gives you a larger, longer kitchen, okay, whereas the other one is a little bit like a C-shaped kitchen. Still very usable, but that makes your kitchen a little bit smaller, but it's actually not that small. So when you go to the show flat, right, the 3-bedroom layout, right, is actually layout K, okay. So if you want to compare the living room size for layout I, you can compare the one in the show flat because the show flat one is actually 5.8 meters, whereas I, which has the smallest living and dining area, is at 4.8 meters, so basically minus 1 meter away. And then the show flat layout for kitchen wise is at 10 square meter. It's actually a very, very good size kitchen. So 3-bedroom premium, we have 11 stacks, okay, so the cheapest will likely be stack 11, 12, and 14, which is facing the hospital, okay, followed by the train facing 25, 33. Do note that 25 is actually quite close to the MRT station. Then the most expensive one will likely be stack 38 because the distance to the next block is the furthest. You see a huge chunk of the swimming pool. And then there's another interesting stack which is stack 58 where the balcony actually juts out. so you may be able to get glimpses of the pond from that stack as well. So next we go to the 4-bedroom compact, which means that the master bedroom and then 3 bedrooms will be sharing one common bathroom, okay? But it also comes with your yard as well. So there are 4 different layouts for 4-bed compacts, okay, and 6 different stacks. So the difference mainly will be either an L-shaped kitchen or the regular kitchen, and also that determines your living dining size as well. So the notable stack, right, is actually stack 44 because that's the only 4-bed compact that is facing full unblocked pond view, okay? So that is likely to be very, very popular. And then the next stack, right, that's a little bit different is actually stack 3 and stack 29, where this layout, you will notice that the kitchen actually can be hacked down because that wall is hackable. So if you are someone who's looking for opening up your kitchen, right, these 2 stacks are the ones that you can probably explore. So our final layout is the 4-bedroom premium with yard, okay? So this is the biggest in the whole development at 1260 square feet. So all of these rooms have connecting bathrooms. So being the 4-bed premium, right, the most expensive and the largest in the whole development, these all 6 stacks you get some kind of pond view, okay? Obviously being 51, 50 and 45 will be directly in front. The super popular one, if price is not a concern, should be stack 50 and 51, okay? Then followed by 45, and then the rest that are at the side are where you see the pond from the side. But at the same time, do note, if it's 48, 53 and 6, right, you are also looking at the block that is right opposite you. So if you really want like no neighbors looking in, you can only look at 51, 50 and 45. So for the 3 different layout, right, 2 of them are actually pretty similar, okay, which for stack 51, 50 and 45, they are the L-shaped kitchen. Then for 06 and 53, where you will be facing your neighbors, right, kitchen is actually the more regular shaped kitchen. But again, then you have to see whether the unblocked view is more important or the layout is more important. Okay, so now we go down to the most important part, which is the pricing. Does it make sense? So fresh from the oven, yesterday 6th of April, developer issued media release with the starting from prices. So we have 1 bedroom starting from 980,000, just shy of 1 million. 2 bedrooms, which is the 2-bed 1 bath, starting from 1.11 million, 3 bedroom from 1.588, and 4 bedroom from 2.288. So which means, right, 1 bedroom your PSF is around 2025, and then for the 2 bedroom or 2-bed 1 bath is actually starting from 1779 PSF. Okay, this is super shocking because this is cheaper than the new launch EC. And then 3-bedder starting from 1993 PSF, and the 4-bedder being the premium in the development is starting from 2025 PSF. So on average, we'll be looking at 2,100 to 2,200 PSF. If we base on this, let's take a look and see if this is an acceptable pricing. So if we look at the present launches in today's market, you will see that this is definitely the cheapest launch of the year. Like I said, cheaper than EC, what more to expect? Cheaper than Springleaf Residences as a private condo. So why is this so? If we go back to the land sale prices, which I've touched on about land sale prices in my previous analysis video, so please check that out. Okay, but in short, this is the cheapest piece of land sold out of the whole entire land sale in the recent pipeline. And if we look at recent launches, okay, so we have the nearest, which is Sora and Lake Garden. Okay, so Sora and Lake Garden average pricing around 2,000 to 2,200 PSF. In fact, Lake Garden highest transacted, which is in March 2026, it's at 2,351 PSF, and Sora at 2,566 PSF. Okay, these are all the lake view facing units. So at this pricing, right, do note that the lake and the garden, the Jurong Lake Garden District in front of them, but they don't have an MRT. And in fact, the MRT to me is not within walking distance. It's about 15 minutes to walk to Lakeside MRT. And then here we have Tengah Garden Residences, where you basically roll to the MRT station and you are actually launching below their last transacted price. Then what about future pricing? It's likely the next plot of land coming up, the integrated development at Tengah MRT. So this is going definitely much higher because it's an integrated development with like seamless connectivity, convenience, etc. So usually we will have like a premium of 20 to 25% minimum over standard condos. So this again make Tengah Garden a very safe entry. So looking at this quantum, right, I think this is super safe price for a new development in a new town, basically with MRT connected to you, amenities downstairs, opposite, surrounding you. In fact, even the hospital will have amenities. And then also schools as well. And you can see just now in the master plan that there are even more schools coming up. So in the whole of Singapore, how are you going to find a new launch development that is launching at between 2,000 to 2,200 PSF? Even like a few weeks ago, we had Revel EC in Tampines, and the average was actually at 1939 PSF with the highest transacted at 2052 PSF. So in Tengah, if you actually get a unit suite here, you are paying cheaper than an EC. So just to do a very quick recap on the pricing using the site map. So the hospital facing Tengah Garden Avenue, you will be looking at around 1,800 PSF onwards, to about 1,900 PSF, okay, along with the MRT facing units, basically the units at the site that you can look at the MRT station or the track. You'll be looking at around 1,900 PSF to about 2,000-ish. Then the other side of the condo where you can see the glimpses of the lake, okay, some of the units where you can see from the side, right? So you can expect maybe about 2,000, starting from 2,000 to 2,001 PSF. Then the inside facing ones, it should be ranging about 2,000 to high floor maybe 2,200. The most expensive one, which is the unblocked pond view one, expect about high 2,001, even 2,002. I would say it may, high floor may actually touch 2,300 PSF as well. Okay, now it comes to the ranking for investment and for own stay. So for investment, I will rank it a 4.5 star out of 5, okay, because it checked the boxes for entry price. At this quantum, right, in this development, I can get a much bigger unit, which gives me more square footage. So this gives me less pressure on my exit PSF, and also the 3 and the 4 bedder quantum is actually very, very palatable. Okay, then second is easy exit, because we have high resale demand, the number of BTO units over there, and also EC upgraders. This gives me a very strong organic demand. And then why is it 4.5 star out of 5? The minus 0.5 is actually because the MRT line, Jurong Region line, is not one of the main line, in my opinion. I feel that there is a lot of connections to do to get to downtown, to get to Orchard. But that being said, I think this is just me being very spoiled. I think for a lot of youngsters, being near the MRT is already a plus. Then for own stay, I will rank it 4 out of 5. Okay, so because it ticks the boxes for convenience, okay, I think this is non-arguable. Entry price, and then the layout is very good. Actually, there's no layout that has weird shape. And then if you somebody who likes greenery, like water, Tengah is really, really very, very green. And because it's car-lite, right, it's actually very convenient. Then the downside, like I said just now, is the MRT line and also the car park, because there's only 60% car park. And I feel that, like, especially for the bigger units, they may have 2 cars or even 3 cars. But that being said, a portion of the units being 2 bedders, and those likely will be rented out. So I don't foresee that we will have an issue with the car park. So into the 3 reasons on why I would buy this development. So again, entry price, safe entry price backed by strong exit. The EC upgraders and the strong HDB BTO population forms an organic ecosystem because they will progress from EC or HDB to private condo. We have about 20,000 units of BTO there. And then if we compare with nearby resale projects, right, such as like Lake Grant and Lakeview, and we prorate to today's market, right, adding in the 6 to 7% to factor in harmonization. These 2 older developments, do note that they are not harmonized. And if you are not sure what is harmonization, okay, please look at my video on harmonization. So if we look at Lake Grande, it's at 1842 PSF on average today. Okay, so when we prorate it to, let's say, today's new launch, right, we divide by the number of remaining leased and then times by 99, you come up to 2072 PSF plus the 6 to 7% for harmonization works out to 2,217. Same thing for Lakeville at 1760 average divided by remaining lease of 86 years times 99, you get 2026 PSF plus harmonization at 2167 PSF. So around 2167 to 2217. So what does this mean? This means that if they are being prorated to a new launch today, this is the reasonable price that they can sell at. And note, these 2 projects are actually about 10 minutes walk to the MRT, and most of them do not actually have a lake view. Okay, so this shows us that Tengah Garden Residences being launched at this pricing is actually within the acceptable range, and in fact, most of the units are going to be below 2,200 PSF. So that would be a steal actually. Second reason, first movers advantage. First private condo in this area, and before the next integrated development comes out, which I've said earlier, would be priced minimally 20 to 25% higher. Then the third reason why I would buy is the convenience. You have MRT, you have shops, you have school, you have even a hospital. I don't know what else do we need. 3 reasons why I will not buy. One is because the pond facing, which is the waterfront facing, is also highway facing. Okay, so this may be a personal preference, especially for own stay. If you don't like the humming sound from the highway, then I foresee this to be an objection unless you do not open your windows. Then second reason is that there will be quite a number of units that are facing the hospital. This will be an objection, but also do note that we do have developments that are facing hospital, like the Vales in Punggol. It's actually facing hospital and LRT track. So for own stay, many people may not want to choose to face the hospital. But for investment, if we dive into the numbers, right, you will see that the numbers actually make sense. Because if we look at Vales, where the unit that is facing the hospital, right, okay, so I'm comparing between stack 28 and stack 30. So stack 28 actually faces the hospital and the LRT track. Stack 30 is a pool-facing unit. Then both are 1044 square feet, both are 3-bed premium. So 1528 actually bought in July 2015 at 782,000, sold in August 2022 at 1.35 mil. Then 1130 actually bought in August 2015 at 854,000 and sold Jan 2023 at 1.45 mil. Okay, so lower floor but paid 72,000 more. In the end, what happens? The more expensive unit, okay, actually made only 28,000 more. So what does this tell us is that actually the hospital facing doesn't deter investors from buying or even for own stay people. In fact, it's really willing buyer, willing seller situation. Everybody have a budget when they are buying something, so as long as it fit into the budget, the location works. In today's market, I don't think a lot of people actually bothers whether it faces the hospital or not. And also adding on that hospitals now are built quite nice lah. Then last but not least is human traffic. A little bit high, but this is the case for every, like development with commercial component. It adds to the convenience, but it also means there will be a lot of human traffic. In fact, before I had kids, I also think that staying ulu is fine. It's best that, don't have people disturbing me. But once you have kids and then you have to constantly feed them, right? I think having like retail, having F&B around is actually a very, very plus point. So if you're thinking about Tengah Garden Residences, but you don't have an action plan in mind and you don't know which unit to choose, and you want to make sure that you're not overpaying to safeguard your exit, please contact me for a one-on-one consultation. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more analysis coming your way.